Hey folks, David Stewart here. I thought I'd take a minute to talk about something that you are likely to encounter quite a bit in the classical guitar world, but undoubtedly you will encounter it in electric guitar spheres as well. And that is the idea that you should always be playing with a particular proper technique. I call that the myth of proper technique, though I also will call it the reality of proper technique, and I'll explain that. Basically, the myth of proper technique is that you should always play every single thing that you do with, quote, the proper technique, whether it's alternate right hand picking, alternating I&M, having the thumb in a particular position, having the knuckles aligned in a certain way. You should be playing with particular and proper technique 100% of the time. And the reason that's a myth is because, first of all, technique does not exist out in a void. Technique does not create music. Technique is used to create music. So there is no celestial body that bequeathed upon us that all scales must be played with alternating I and M, and the thumb should always be placed in the middle of the back of the neck, or you should always do alternate up and down picking 100% of the time with your guitar. We do those techniques because those are the easiest way to accomplish the sound that we want in the music that we're playing. So we create the technique. The technique was developed over time in order to play music properly, whether it's rest stroke, free stroke, Raschiato, tremolo, anything. All that was designed to play and create a particular sound. So that's the myth of proper technique. If you're not playing with 100% proper technique, but the music is being accomplished, then you don't need to worry that much about proper technique. The reality of proper technique is that because those techniques are used to create the music, you'll be limiting yourself if you're not playing with proper technique. If you're choosing to play with, say, a high thumb position, you may be able to play like a lot of chords. And of course, a classical guitar definitely exaggerates how bad the grabby thumb can be. But you won't be able to, say, play a 3-note per string scale. When your thumb's high, you just can't reach more than a couple of frets. You have to put that thumb behind the neck, and then suddenly you're able to play scales that require a much bigger reach. The same thing with the right hand. Alternating I and M 100% of the time for scales. Let's see if I can get the right hand in here. There we go. Sometimes it's advantageous to drag a finger because of where the passage might be going in a piece of music. It might be advantageous to drag a finger. Or what a lot of people do is they add the ring finger in to get rid of really awkward putting the middle finger underneath the index finger when they're going backwards a string. That's a really awkward fingering because the middle finger is longer. So sometimes you'll add a ring finger in and you'll play, say, A, M, I, A, M, I, M, I, like that. A, M, I, A, M, I. I don't really practice it, so sorry if it sounds bad. But you can do that if you need to. Some pieces I practiced with a finger in the middle of a single note passage, and other pieces I haven't, or maybe you drag a finger, repeat a finger. If it's easier than trying to reach forward and do some other finger, you just let the proper technique go in order to make the music happen as best as you can. So the reality of proper technique is that you will sometimes need to adjust your technique if it's bad. Like I get a lot of veteran players that come in and take lessons from me, and this is the one I get a lot with electric guitar players. Their thumb position's very bad, or their right hand position's very bad. Maybe they, instead of playing with a nice round right hand position, they're playing like this, or they're playing a sort of Segovia style, which can really limit your ability to play certain kinds of music. So in those cases, you do correct the technique in order, but the goal is to play the music better. It's not just to play good technique. So whenever you're learning a technique, you should learn that technique with the idea that you're going to apply it to something. You know, you don't just practice scales and nothing. You should practice scales because you're going to play some pieces that have scales, and if you are never wanting to play a piece with scales, you don't really need to spend hours a day practicing scales. Likewise, though, if you come across a piece that has scales or arpeggios in it that you don't know how to do yet, you need to practice those arpeggios and try to do them. Start with the proper technique and then go from there. Lastly, I'd remind you that whenever you pick up a piece of sheet music, the fingerings that are in that sheet music, those are always suggestions. Those are not written in stone. Just because Segovia played it a certain way does not mean you have to play it a certain way. Just because Pepe Romero played it a certain way does not mean you have to play it that way. In fact, I have played pieces for various Romeros in master classes. I don't think Pepe. I think I've done Angel and Salino and Lito, and I don't think I did Pepe, but I've played pieces that they've played, and they're like, oh, well, I do it this way, but the way you're doing it, it works for you, so just keep doing that. Like, I've never encountered their attitude of like, well, why didn't you play my fingerings for this edition? It's like, well, my hands didn't work very good for those fingerings, so I came up with a different one that worked for me and allowed me to play it at tempo and play it with the sound that I wanted to. So those fingerings are always suggestions, and you can change them if you need to in order to accomplish the music. I guess that's all I have to say about that. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you found the video useful or the discussion interesting. Feel free to give me your thoughts on proper technique and how it should be practiced and what the attitude should be towards proper technique. Again, my attitude is you practice the technique in order to accomplish the music. The music is the center of all your thought. You can also find me on my websites, dvspress.com, davidvstewart.com. You can find me on social media, facebook.com/David Van Dyke Stewart, and you can find me on Twitter as David V. Stewart. And I really appreciate you watching, and please let me know what you want to see in the future, and keep practicing. Have a great day.